Have you ever outsourced or hired out a step of the home buying process or aspect of your business and wondered why you were left with a disappointing result? Getting completely blindsided can happen, but sometimes you need to look in the mirror and acknowledge that you could have played a role in preventing that outcome. I wanted to quickly share a principle that I discovered along my journey that I think is so important that I recommend it to anyone who is learning a new industry or starting a business. I call it no gap aptitude. And it's the approach of deciphering which different skill sets slash roles are going to be most important for your success. And then as the founder slash owner slash operator, training up your personal understanding in each area to what I call the competent baseline, thus leaving no gaps in your understanding. To run a successful business, you can't try to be an expert in every crucial category or take on every role full time for the long term and expect to be successful. But this principle states that you also shouldn't be a complete liability in any category. Why? Simply because if you're going to hire somebody to fill a role and you don't have at least a competent baseline in that category, you can run into two major types of problems. Number one are the people who know how to market themselves as and possibly may even believe that they know how to do a job properly, but actually don't. And number two are the less than honorable people who can sense that the person hiring them is clueless and will seek to exploit that for their benefit. Either scenario can leave you with a money pit and a sour feeling. The best solution to avoid these unfortunate scenarios is training up your understanding in each category to the competent baseline. So, what does a competent baseline actually look like? How far do you have to take it? I say you need to answer two main questions for each category of your business. Number one, are you able to use industry-specific vocabulary and ask the person you are hiring educated questions, including understanding the common options that you'll have to choose from? Number two, do you know what a good job at a fair price in a reasonable amount of time looks like? If you can answer both of those questions, not only can you start to identify people who aren't going to deliver on expectations before you hire them, but you'll also be able to discourage those less honorable people from seeking an opportunity to take advantage of somebody who they sense as ignorant and inexperienced. So, what are a few tips to train up your no gap aptitude as a real estate investor and business owner, and where should you focus your attention? 3 tips. The first big tip I can give you is to gain experience in the field whenever possible. Seek those opportunities out. So, off and on for the last 6 years, I've busted out my boots and my toolbox and have gone out to assist contractors at rehab projects. Is this the role I see myself long term? Probably not, but when I first started, I identified a major weakness in myself, which was renovations and construction knowledge. What's been the best education I could have? Going out to actual projects, observing, asking questions, and then eventually starting to swing the hammer. Am I now an expert in construction? No, but I now have filled an important gap with baseline competence through firsthand experience. Absolutely important. The second big tip I can give you is to seek out trusted advisors in the different areas of expertise that are important to your business success, especially when you are newer or doing something for the first time. Having someone with more experience and expertise to vet the person you are hiring can raise your competence by association. So, a couple quick examples. Number one, you're inexperienced with renovations, but have an uncle who's a retired contractor. When you get a line item bid from a contractor, you have him review it for quality and accurate pricing. In this sense, you are borrowing his expertise to make up for an area you aren't trained up in yet. Example 2, an experienced investor has taken you under his wing and has agreed to come out and tour a few properties with you and can provide guidance and support as you learn what aspects inside a property to assess and what questions to ask the seller. You are leveraging a relationship to make better decisions and borrowing another's credibility to potentially earn you a higher degree of respect from the seller. The keys with this tip are A, make sure absolutely that this is a trusted advisor that doesn't stand to benefit in a way that doesn't serve your best interest. And B, do not use this as a substitute for training up your own baseline competence. Merely use it as a enhancement and make sure you are taking notes and learning from their guidance. After all, this person may not be there always to fall back on, so you don't want to always be fully dependent. The final big tip I can give you is when you do find someone who is good within a role, document the steps they take and what makes them good at their job. With an agent, this might be making a checklist of the steps they took while you were under contract that got you from under contract to the closing table. That way, if you're ever working off market and unrepresented in the future, you have a baseline of the procedure so you don't miss something important. Hint, the checklist is longer than you expect, especially here in Pittsburgh. With lenders, this might look like calling around and getting 5 different cost sheets, comparing the different line items, asking questions, and taking detailed notes for your future self. For an appraiser, this might be actually studying their report and asking them questions rather than just looking at the final number and throwing it aside. So you can understand what components factored into their decision. So next time, you can do everything you possibly can to boost the value in the categories that they find important. I always made it a point to be there in person at a property inspection or appraisal to observe their process and ask questions so I can understand, and I did this whenever possible. I hope that you can use these 3 tips to train up your competent baseline in the most important areas to your business success, because I strongly believe that having a no gap aptitude is one of the biggest keys to becoming a weakness-free, bulletproof, rockstar real estate investor.